Well, morning everybody. What the hell time is it? 8 o'clock. I should look for it. Anyway, silver was up, last I checked a couple minutes ago, was up 13 cents to, let's see, 23.64, 16 cents. Gold was up 24.50 to 13.88. Gold took a one hell of a hit. And so, well, everybody knows silver's down a third. Uh, But I don't know if this is enough to call it a turnaround. I looked through all the silver purchasing places yesterday, and it seems a lot of them are claiming to be out of the cheaper stuff. But I did find one thing that was interesting, and I know I'm going to get hit in the head with it if I end up going with it, and I almost pushed the button on it yesterday, was a kilogram coin of a koala was only averaged $1.39 over spot. So it was a little hefty in price. I don't know, $778 or something. But I seriously considered getting it, and I might still get it. But I know I'll get hit in the head with it because I'm not supposed to buy shiny, and I'm not supposed to buy big. But when that's the only thing available, now the problem with that would be later on selling it, and I presume, and later on to me, it isn't very much later on for you guys because I'm thinking in 4 or 5 years I'm going to have to start unloading a little bit of this to supplement my retirement because we're working on principal. There isn't anything out there that's paying any interest. No money markets, no savings or checking or any of that stuff. But one interesting thing was, and I didn't see it on the national news, but it appeared a couple places on YouTube, was the this big tremendous landslide at the Kennecott mine in Utah. Now this is the largest copper mine in the country, and it also produces the second largest amount of silver for a mine in this country, and it produces about 5 million ounces of silver a year. Not that much in silver standards, but it's 16% of the mine production of silver in this country. But nothing was mentioned. I didn't see any of that on the yeah, MS NBC or whatever it is, the cable channel that always carries all the good news for for stocks uh, and all the bad news for gold. You don't see him talk about gold until gold takes a tremendous hit. When gold's on its way up, everybody sort of tries to ignore it on that station. But anyway, I think the margin calls are mostly been covered, and what hasn't been covered, these people went belly up. A lot of people lost a lot of money in paper silver, and that doesn't bother me a bit. Uh, if you want to invest your money, fine, but when you start buying on the margin against against your money that these brokerage firms lend you, you can get into big trouble really quick. And I think a lot of people did, and it might keep them from going back in the paper market. Now, the second thing, I wanted to mention this Endicott thing. If you can find it on YouTube, go look at it. It is horrendous. This mine is like a mile across. The, these giant trucks, you've seen them, all the biggest trucks in the world. They look like Tinker Toys, and a great many of them got buried. This is a horrendous landslide because this thing is shaped like a giant cone, a very broad cone, and in order to get the ore out of the bottom, they got to ride round, round, round. Well, the problem was that just a horrendous amount of this thing broke loose, and lucky they had some warning of it, or there have been many people would have been buried and killed. But that mine might be closed for a couple of years. If you go, you'll see why it might take that long for them to recover. So that's 5 million ounces of silver will be off the market for a couple of years. Now, on top of that, we have to talk about this Boston tragedy. What happened up there was surely an act of terror, and um, what I'm worried about is that every time something like this happens, the president or the Congress enacts some silly, stupid, unnecessary restrictive, unconstitutional legislation that gets us closer and closer to the stormtroopers at our door. Now, we started off with Johnson using the Gulf of Tonkin, which never happened, and using the Gulf of Tonkin resolution to get us into Vietnam, which was not a war declared. The Congress is always happy to let the president declare these things because they don't want to be the ones declaring war, which constitutionally they should be. And then we ended up with the Patriot Act, with Bush enacting all this Homeland Security stuff, which I don't know has saved an airplane or saved anybody. It's cost us $1 trillion in lost productivity. People waiting up, and people, 80-year-old people having to take their shoes off, and et cetera, et cetera, and 5-year-old kids getting felled up. Now, so I want to warn that the FBI, the cops, the Homeland Security, they got more rules than they need. The Patriot Act did away with the first, fourth, and 14th amendments. I think maybe they've infringed on the sixth and seventh also, and we don't need any further legislation. We need these guys to do their job, but we don't need suspension of habeas corpus and everything else. We don't need drones flying around killing Americans when they're out of the country, and we don't need drones flying around our neighborhoods.